Audrey was brutally beaten. The fight stopped for a second. She tried to escape. He came at her again, and she used deadly force. That's what happened. Earlier that day, an argument began. They share a child together, as you heard. This argument started over something that maybe was a little bit minor, and it escalated. It had to do with their daughter Selena's medication. Okay, this started to get escalated, like I said, and they're arguing, they're yelling back and forth. Audrey decides she's going to remove herself from the situation. This isn't a good relationship, and she understands how these arguments can go. So she goes to her bedroom. Now, Audrey's in the process of moving out. She's trying to buy her own house. In fact, she was in contract at this time to buy her own house. Matt knew that. Audrey was staying in this bedroom by herself. So she goes up to the bedroom to remove herself from the situation. Let's not escalate this anymore. Separates herself from the situation. So, Audrey sits on her bed by herself, looking at her phone. She's sitting on the edge of her bed, looking at her phone, minding her own business, when Matt comes up the stairs, unwilling to put this argument aside. Then he just loses his temper completely. He loses all control of his emotions. She's sitting here on the edge of her bed. He reaches over, he grabs her by the neck, he throws her off into a wall, okay? Her head goes through the wall. You're gonna see it. A nice, perfectly head-sized shape through the wall. That's a lot larger than Audrey. He's got her on the ground, and he begins punching her in the head. She does what she can. She tries to block it, puts her arms up, tucks her chin. She takes punches to her arms. She takes punches to her head, to her face. She's terrified. Now, by the grace of God, Matt does quit beating her. She couldn't do anything at that point to stop him. Matt leaves, and as he does, he tells her, "It's no wonder your dad used to beat your mom, because you guys just don't know when to shut up." She's terrified. He walks out of the door. She's crying. She's just been beaten. Her head hurts. She's been thrown through a wall. She's been punched. She's bruised. She's laying there on the floor. She keeps her AR underneath her bed. Her only thought is, I need to get out of here. She grabs her AR. She keeps the ammunition separate because they got a young child in the house. Grabs the AR, gets the ammunition out of the closet, loads the gun. Her only thought at this point is, I need to get out of here. She doesn't know if Matt's still there. If Matt's gone, if he's downstairs. She does know he keeps guns downstairs in the kitchen. She takes a step or two out of her bed into the hall, and that's when Matt comes around the corner. Matt comes around the corner, she sees him, he sees her, and he comes at her again, just the way he did moments before when he brutally beat her and caused her serious physical harm. As soon as that happened, she fires one shot. He yells, he leaves. She doesn't know where he's going. She doesn't know if she's safe yet. She follows. She goes outside, doesn't initially see him, comes back in. She calls her mom. Says, "Mom, I just shot Matt. I need to call 911. She calls 911. She gives the operator on 911 a recount of what happened, does her best to maintain her composure. She does a pretty good job. This is obviously a traumatic situation. She's former military. I think she does a pretty good job at this. 911 operator asks, is he outside? She goes, confirms he's outside. And then she goes and gives him CPR and awaits for the medics and police to come. Medics and police come. She tells them exactly what happened. And this is in moments after she's just been brutally beaten and had to shoot somebody because she was trying to escape. It's a traumatic experience. She's taken to the hospital. She's treated for several hours. Then she ends up giving an interview, recorded interview, for about an hour with an investigator and deputy. She tells them everything that's happened. I'm going to say it was weeks later, she agrees to do another interview with them. Again, recorded, tells them everything that's happened again. Each time, everything has been consistent, and the evidence that you're going to hear is consistent with what she's told deputies, investigators, whoever has listened to her. Her struggle is, what was I supposed to do? She said this to the investigator. I don't know what else I could have done, and I don't either. At the end of this, we're going to ask you to find her not guilty.
At this time, we have two options. We can keep going with testimony, or we can break for lunch. The State of Ohio, I don't know how long you anticipate your first witness to be.
We need to go on the work to make availability.
So you'd prefer to take a lunch break right now, get the time to get everything in order? All right, I think that's probably the best course of action. We're going to take a recess for lunch. When we come back, we'll start in with testimony. So you need to remember what I told you during instructions for breaks. You guys are permitted to leave the courthouse for lunch. No talking about the case with anybody else at this point. If anybody comes up to you and wants to talk to you about the case, you need to report that right away as soon as you get back to the courthouse. I've given you the instructions on cell phones and your own research and that sort of thing, so please remember those instructions. We will start at 1 o'clock, so it's 12 o'clock now. We'll be back promptly at 1 o'clock. Anything else at this point from either counsel? Okay, so I'm going to dismiss the jury for now. You guys are free to go to lunch. Be back in time for the 1 o'clock.